Welcome to ScreenQuest, a podcast where a fellowship of film lovers and armchair movie experts plays film roulette. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Waterman, joined by Will Rotondi.
Hey, how's it going?
And of course, as always, we have the lovely May Finch.
Hello, hello.
Hi, guys. How are you? Did you have a nice long weekend?
Very
Not
busy.
too bad.
Very busy. Oh my gosh. I felt like I didn't have a much of a break, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, the full of sun and surf and booze kind of busy.
Yes, definitely. Well, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about Mad Max Fury Road for our first end of the world topic. And of course, we'll be drawing a side card and even playing a round of keyword countdown. But first, another sad and oddly times in memoriam for us on ScreenQuest. So between our last episode and today's episode, Tina Turner has passed away. Very, very, very sad. We were just talking about Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and how without Tina Turner, it would probably be a pretty mid movie, but she totally makes it. So kind of odd timing, but yeah, I don't know what your all's personal experience is with Tina Turner, but that was the first thing that as a child that watching it on USA or whatever Sci-Fi Channel or something where I was oh, who is that? She's incredible. And then my parents being oh, she's actually wasn't an actor first. She was a performer and musician, and found out that she covered Proud Mary, which is one of my favorite CCR songs, and her version is just incredible, and it led me down the rabbit hole. And I think she was just an amazing woman. But how about you guys? What was your relationship to Tina Turner? Are you Tina Turner fans, either of the actress or the musician?
This is just another one of those where I generationally kind of missed her peak.
Sure.
And now that she's having an in memoriam, I'm actually listening to her music and I'm oh, I dig this. I like this. So
oh yeah.
Not saying I'm glad she died, but saying it's good that at least a celebrity's passing can make everyone revisit their work, including people that are too young to have really been around for the first pass.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really nice thing in a way, that people can discover and have something good come out of it. How about you, Will?
I was gonna say, May, I wouldn't worry about the difference in age too much on this, because I mean, growing up, I knew of Tina Turner, but I didn't really listen to much of her stuff. And truth be told, when it comes to film, the most that I've probably seen that I know of, The Bodyguard always comes to mind, but I don't even know if I watched the entire movie. I feel bad about that. I do remember that she did the opening credit theme song for GoldenEye, the James Bond flick with Pierce Brosnan back in the day. So that's something else too that I'll think of. But it's probably those two.
Is she in The Bodyguard? I've never seen it before. I know Whitney Houston was the main character, so I'm not trying to mansplain. I just I'm asking if she's a ancillary character, because that's one of those movies that the artwork is burned into my brain, and of course Whitney Houston's song, but no. Okay.
See, that's even worse. See, you can just cut that. No. Clearly, I'm getting my characters mixed up once again.
Dude,
this is that moment with Carl Sagan, right, with the book and everything. Nah.
It's just what's another tragic, untimely singer death, right? Who was a singer performer that had a really big role. So I think that's fine. I just genuinely did not know, because I've not seen that movie before. It was huge when we were kids, but
you know what? I'm taking a look right now. Because I feel really bad. I'd be yeah, Tina Turner, Bodyguard, and this man clearly does not know.
No, I promise.
But I am legitimately curious, because I think that somewhere along the way, it's kind of random facts, because it's not one of those things where I'm intentionally getting it wrong. It's more one of those things where it's I feel somewhere it crossed in my brain that I thought that, and then I'm nah, close. Sure. Whitney Houston, Tina Turner. It's kind of Cary Grant and Gregory Peck.
Yep.
I know they're both awesome, equally cool in their own way, and they both have their unique style, but for some reason it's in my mind I flip-flop them. So I don't know. I think it's one of those just Will
No worries,
moments
dude.
again. So
that's okay. Well, I can cut around it if you want, but I just hey, we said on the session 0, we're not going to be experts. We're going to make mistakes. We gave you the disclaimer.
It's cool. I do like to fact check myself, though. I do like to fact check myself because, especially in Memoria too. But I will say at least GoldenEye. So I got 1 out of 2. It's 50%. We're okay. It's passable.
That's a banger theme song too. I like that.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. In terms of like, if we wanted to rank some James Bond intros, it's definitely up there in my opinion. But yeah, how about you, Chris? What comes to mind for you?
Really, just like the kind of the like Mad Max as far as movies go, and like I said, the CCR cover is really what got me into the music. And then like I think I don't remember what it's called. I think it's like the Ike and Tina Turner story is the subtitle. And now I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and might get this wrong. I think Angela Bassett played her, but don't quote me on that.
Let me see. Learning more.
What's Love Got to Do with It is what the name of it is.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That was back
and it was
in
Angela
93.
Bassett. So
ooh,
right.
I that was really good. Man.
Yeah, it's a rough watch. Like if you are triggered by domestic violence, because it really does portray that side of it. But Angela Bassett is just a powerhouse in it. Does a really good job. So as far as biopics go, there you go. That's a recommendation as well. But that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge, is just like discovering her music randomly because of the CCR connection, and all starting with Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which is like I said, without her, it's not the same. That movie wouldn't be half as good. So, well, R.I.P. Tina, you will be missed. All right. Always hard to transition from that, but let's have a side quest to cheer us up. How about that?
Just an abrupt change. Just
depends on what the side quest is.
I'm gonna flip this and do a different one because I feel like we had this recently. So
is it throw your popcorn?
It was immersive experience, but
okay.
Here we go. Anticipation is the category. So this is where one of us will plug a film that is an upcoming release that we're looking forward to. So anybody got right up. Go ahead, May.
I have many actually, so I have to narrow it down. But I'm choosing to talk about the Barbie movie because that's the first one that I thought of. First of all, I will be seeing this as a double feature on release day because it also releases the same weekend as Oppenheimer, and I want to see them back to back.
I'm inviting myself to this. So
yes,
if you're
you
in
and Marianne are very welcome. But yeah, the Barbie movie I'm very excited for a lot of different reasons. Greta Gerwig is great. I love the chemistry between Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. I think they're great together. Everything I've seen from the trailers is very kind of like aggressively Barbie and pink, but also like kind of offbeat and quirky. And I don't know, it's an attractive combo for me. And this is also me reclaiming my childhood because I was not allowed to have Barbies as a young girl. And I was always very jealous of my friends that had Barbies. And now I'm like, wait, I can embrace this extremely large women.
The first trailer being a big shout out to 2001 was just like
that's what I was alluding to.
Oh my god, yeah.
The very large woman that's also an obelisk. So yeah, I'm very excited for it personally. And I think it's going to be very good. The costuming too is just phenomenal. Everything I've seen has been great. Yeah. What do you guys know about the Barbie movie?
I've seen all I need to know that I'm definitely there day one. I really hope that it's as good as it looks. Like I'm a sucker for style, so like I'm like you, I have kind of blind faith given like the talent behind it, especially Greta Gerwig. So that's about it. I don't know much about the plot or anything else, nor do I care. I'm sold.
What about you, Will?
I mean, it's the same reason. It's who's in it. It's who's producing and directing it. And I don't know. Like I in like a weird way, I feel like I'm hoping that it'll be like for Barbie what the Lego movie was for Legos. Like I I hope everything's awesome, and I would be totally down to watch it. So
thanks for sharing. That's one of those categories that'll be evergreen because there's always new stuff to look forward to until the AI overlords replace us. And then I just refuse to watch any new movies if that happens. I'm just gonna be like, well, my backlog certainly got a lot easier to catch up on. But
yeah, quick shout out to the writers' strike and trying to stop that.
Listen, you know when you interrupt shit like Stranger Things, that is like a huge moneymaker, like for now, maybe their biggest show, like I think you could argue. That's when like you really start to get the progress. Like I feel like in the momentum behind you. So keep it up, y'all.
Yeah.
Fully support that. All right. Well, we are gonna transition screens here and to our main topic, which is Mad Max Fury Road. So bear with me while I do that. All right. And as always, we'll kick it off with some general impressions. I think we established on the last episode that we've all seen this before. So I'd be kind of curious to hear like what your rewatch was like to start things off. So take it away. I'll go with Will first because you're in the top right.
It's funny. I think I was really pumped about it the first time I watched it, and I just find it stranger now the second time I've gone back and watched it. And it's not necessarily in a bad way. I just found it I don't know, it was interesting because what little I remember of like the Mel Gibson version versus like the Tom Hardy version is so different. And I think reading more about just how strenuous it was on set between him and Charlize Theron, I was like, man, I can't imagine, like with everything else going on and all these like pyrotechnics and like dangerous stunts, like I can't imagine like the stress level of having to deal with that and feeling like your coworker is like an antagonist on set. But I think overall with the film itself, I think it's like bizarrely gorgeous because you have like these really sprawling, beautiful, like wide establishing shots. And then you have like the crazy world that Mad Max exists in, which you just kind of have to go with and gets progressively weirder, but also like strangely beautiful and also violently beautiful. And I go along for the ride, no pun intended, just because I love car chases in the desert and the dystopian future. So I'm down. I'll watch it anytime.
Yeah, I remember being just kind of like blown away the first time I watched it because it was so different from other action films I'd seen up until that point. And like also just instantly enamored by Furiosa, of course. But yeah, rewatching it, I kind of agree with that, Will, about like noticing just more weird. Like I love a lot of the visual language and like symbols of the film. I don't love that like all the disabled characters are evil and all the evil characters are disabled trope. That was not great. And I just completely overlooked that the first time I watched it. But yeah, it was impressive that the action scenes at least still like really held up for me as like being gripping, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know, like I think it's like a lot of the people like in the universe definitely have some sort of not disability necessarily, but like something gross about them because of I mean, like you think about his mates, like the guy behind you. I'm Hux. Is it Nux or Hux? Nux.
I think. IMDb says like Nux.
Nux, yes. And obviously Furiosa is like missing a limb. I hope we get to find out like what happened there in the prequel because I am interested in that. But yeah, like I think it's one of those things that it does feel a bit dated in terms of like post-apocalyptic tropes where like the grotesqueness is sort of like an integral part of like you think like the Baron and Dune, right? And like showing like the villainy, you know. Marianne, actually, I can't take credit for that, pointed out on the rewatch. She's like, he's very like Baron Harkonnen, isn't he? And I was like, yeah, for sure. Nice. But yeah, I do like the color palettes. A lot of like really striking like blues and oranges, which I think is very, very like cool for a color palette. I think the design of the vehicles in particular is like such a standout thing for me in this. Like I don't know how functional anything would actually be, but they make it look like it belongs right there.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate the invincibility of the cars until they needed to not be invincible too. Like there's some, as an insurance adjuster, some crashes where I'm like, yeah, not that you're not getting that back up and running like out there in the desert. But yeah, like it's definitely a cool ride. I think for what's essentially one long car chase with a couple of little breathers in between, like it's pretty amazing that it can hold people's attention for so long and not feel like it's like repetitive or like I think like in the wrong hands, it could certainly be a movie that your eyes glaze over after like an hour or so. And I agree with you, Will. As much as I don't like the man, Mel Gibson was a way more interesting Max than Tom Hardy. This is really a Furiosa movie at its core. Yeah. And it's no surprise that I think she's the feature character for the next film. It's almost like Max is like, they could have changed his name to like literally anything and it wouldn't have made any impact on my enjoyment of this. But it puts asses in the seats. So there, that's why you have it. So moving on, I wanted to ask, since we are talking about an apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic film here, as part of the discussion, like what's your favorite unique aspect to like the world building? Like what's something that stood out to you that's unique to the Mad Max world?
I gotta say it's the cars, man. That's what you were talking about. I mean, you look at some of like the souped up rides that they've got, like it's Immortan Joe, sorry. Who's got like two Cadillacs, like one on top of the other, is double caddies rolling out on some like monster truck wheels, and that to me, I think that's sort of like the signature look, right? Between that and like the dudes that have like the weird helmets and like war gear, I guess, that is or isn't covering their body depending on the needs of the plot. Like, those two usually stand out to me when I think of Mad Max, whether it's like well, maybe not the first one, like 2 through Fury Road, I feel like that's sort of consistent at that point.
So I can't say this is like specific to this movie, but what I love about it the most is just the two kind of plot twists that you got. Because when you're first starting it, you're thinking, okay, this is a Mad Max movie. This is going to be about Max and his like escape, or maybe like his like rise to like resist Immortan Joe. And like very early on, it's kind of like Furiosa's just completely taking that plot and being like, no, this is a feminist mission to liberate these women and get to the promised land. And the rest of the movie is just that up until they get to what was supposed to basically be their promised land, and it's gone. And I love that it was gone and that it forces them to turn around and be like, okay, I guess we're just bringing down Immortan Joe then. And then they go do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that I couldn't really predict which way the plot was going to go.
No, it's definitely not cliche for a post-apocalyptic movie, and a lot, especially like plot-wise. I mean, yes, I think that like it definitely is a salute to like all the Mad Max movies before it, certainly in terms of like the look and everything. But yeah, I think you're bang on. I had no idea. I thought like, oh, they're gonna get to the promised land and then it's gonna be like a standoff where like Immortan Joe shows up and they have to like defend the fort kind of thing, which is I think what they do in the Road Warrior. There's like a big face off at like the base or whatever. But I was glad also that they didn't do that, because it's kind of satisfying to like watch them do like kind of a reverse charge, chase, whatever, like turn the table. Is kind of cool.
Yeah. And then also like I see a lot of the plot as just being kind of Furiosa's character journey, and I like that her natural impulse, as anyone's natural impulse, I think, in a scenario like this, is just to flee for safety. And it's only when that is completely ripped away from her, she's like, all right, I guess we're just going to take him down. Actually rebel.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like just like the overall world building and what they do in this film, like in terms of like just stating things as like a simple fact with like out caving to the temptation to over explain stuff. Like they say things like the Bullet Factory and Gasoline Town or whatever, and it's just like They don't have to be like, that's where you get the gasoline, right? Like they just show like this thing with like fire shooting up, and you're like, you can guess that it's a refinery just from the visual imagery. And Bullet Town, same thing. And then with that, like kind of having like the different factions and the looks of them was all really, really cool to me. I think it just trusts the viewer to just put it all together through context clues. And then if you're not quick enough on the uptake there, like you can still sort of enjoy it on a surface level. But yeah, that's definitely I think a lot of post-apocalyptic movies like try to over explain things and not just trust the viewer to put it together. On like a scale of 1 to 10 or however you want to quantify it, like where do you rate the plausibility of this post-apocalypse in terms of like, not like is it believable in the context of the film, but I mean like overall plausibility? Like how likely is this post-apocalypse to be what things would be like if we're assuming that like this is like some sort of post-nuclear disaster, I think, right?
Do I believe that there's only going to be 5 beautiful people left alive in the world? I don't know.
You got 3 out of the 5 right here. So, I mean, if it happens tomorrow.
I don't know. I feel like that's probably the implausible part of this film.
Yeah.
But, you know what? I believe in the conflict. I believe that it would be tribal in some way. I could roll with that idea. I don't know if they would have souped up cars like that, or awesome rock the big drums, and then like the the massive guitar with the flamethrower on it. That would be cool. Don't get me wrong. That would be that. I've never seen something more metal than what I saw, in that chase. But yeah, I'm gonna go with maybe 50 on that.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, genuinely. So you're saying you can buy into about half of like what the portrayal of the world is. Okay,
yeah,
not bad.
I could see that. Yeah,
I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 10.
About where I am, but go ahead.
I'll explain why. Because I've always seen this movie as like pretty much pure metaphor. Like I don't think anything is supposed to actually work this way. I just feel like if you're, writing post-apocalyptic fiction and you're trying to like critique the US and like the course of the world right now and like capitalism and all these things, like yeah, you're going to have a bullet town and a gasoline town, and you're going to have water shortages, and you're going to have all these crazy car battles, and it just feels like all part of like the kind of like critique. And I don't see any of this as actually supposed to work even in universe. So I give it a 1.
Yeah, so interesting that you bring that up. I was doing a little background on George Miller. I guess he was an ER doctor before he became a filmmaker, and the gas crisis of the 70s is what fueled the idea for the original Mad Max, which is incredibly grounded compared to this. Like the world's still kind of going, like there's like some resource scarcity, and things are on their way to really bad, but you can definitely see a more grounded inspiration to like what it becomes. So I'm with you, May. I'm putting this at about a 1. Like it's a 10 for enjoyment and like for all the symbolism and whatnot, but there's so many things I feel like are like really over exaggerated. Like I'm a pretty cynical person, but I have a hard time believing like the human race would just completely devolve, like that everyone there would just be a maniac, like part of a clan, and that the Furiosas and Maxes of the world would be like rarities. But I know that's maybe a little optimistic, but so sue me. I don't know.
I mean,
you huff enough paint, man, find out what happens. All right, like was that silver paint they were like? The chrome, that's what it was, right? I'm sorry, May. What were you gonna say?
This world just seems like a logistical nightmare too, because it's like it's darkly funny watching that water scene at the beginning where they're like distributing the water in the least practical way possible. It was like a show of power and force. It is shocking, but it's like people would just be dead if that was how they regularly got their water. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to keep the people you're oppressing alive at the very least.
They're like, they just go on the other side of the canyon and practice your free climb and your bouldering, and then just like take a little strike force up there at night. Like,
yeah.
No, but you're right. All right, great. Well, my next question is, so like a lot of post-apocalyptic movies, not all, because I feel like there's usually like two types of endings. It's like hope is stamped out or like hope like starts to kind of blossom but doesn't come to fruition, and you're kind of left like wondering. And this definitely falls in the latter category. My question to you is, are you convinced? Like, do you feel like things are going to change and like this world can get better based on how the film ends?
Yes.
Expound.
As long as Furiosa is leading it, yes, I think it's possible. But yeah, like asterisk, I think that there's still a lot of folks from the old regime that might have an issue with that. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of conflict. Since what was it? It was like the trainees that Immortan Joe, basically trainee status, like dudes that Immortan Joe had left behind, were still there. But I don't know. You get enough people that are, that want water that badly, that see somebody who will actually like be more of a savior to them than the last person. I think that it's possible. That being said, who knows? I mean, it could. I'll flip flop and say that it's possible they could just as well hate everything that happens after that and still have issues and want to like argue about it. But I don't know. I would choose to feel more optimistic about the end for the film. And then, Max goes off and does his other adventures somewhere else. He just pieces out. So I think it all worked out. I'm gonna choose to be hopeful on this one.
Okay, so you're pretty convinced that there's legitimate hope anyway, like even if it's not a certain thing. Okay,
maybe. Because I think there's like also a point to the film ending with them bringing Immortan Joe's body back and like proving that they've overthrown him and just cutting there. I think the movie isn't really about like the after and like the rebuilding. I think it's really just about like finally defeating your oppressor. And it could be that like there's a civil war that breaks out the next day or any number of things. And it doesn't matter, I guess, because they at least got rid of Immortan Joe. So it's hopeful in the sense of like they defeated the oppressor, but things could get better or worse the next day. And
so this is where I like the cynical part of me like does kind of come, because they lay a lot of groundwork to try to convince you, right, that things are going to work out. You see the pouch of seeds, you have sort of the oppressive like patriarchy like replaced with the seemingly like more reasonable like matriarchal like like group of women, because not all of them die, right? There's like a few besides the like the women that Furiosa rescues like from her tribe that make it back, right? So like you've got a pretty decent foundation for some good leadership. The cynical part of my brain when I was watching this was like it really came down to like how the crowd like mentality, and like I was like, okay, so you do have some good leadership foundation here and like some resources, but this world is so fucked. Like how you would have to fundamentally change the entire world from the looks of it. Like as I pointed out earlier, there's not a lot of really decent people around, and that I'm not convinced of, like that like anybody could do that, certainly not in any short span of time. Like you would really have to work at it. And not only would like you have to change like that little fortress area, but then now you have to like worry about like all the other people and fighting off like and like bartering for resources. And so like it felt to me this most recent time like a little more like inevitable. And I think it's really like the key scene was when she goes back to the green place and they're like, yeah, that dream didn't work out, and I'm like, I kind of wonder if this is just another green place where it's enough to get you by to the next day, but probably gonna have a similar result. And it kind of bummed me out because I didn't feel that way the first time I saw it at all. But
that's another reason I don't like trying to take like a practical interpretation of the movie. I prefer it just to be metaphorical, because if you're going for like realism, it would also be like a group of women trying to lead a deeply sexist, like violently sexist society that, like, until recently most of them were in the same harem, right? Like, they're not going to get respected or viewed as leaders. Furiosa had to basically take on a very masculine role and masculinize herself just to like not end up in the same position as the other women. And yeah, I don't think they would follow them necessarily. I think there'd be a lot of pushback.
yeah, glad they had that lift, I guess, to the only way up or down once the reality sets in. We control the water, like, so
Yeah.
Here's my next question for you both. I thought this would be a fun one. You personally, do you think you would survive at this world? Like, would you make it?
Oh, fuck no, man. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. That's I love that question. That's amazing. No, there's no way in hell I would live. I would totally die in this world.
Even like you wouldn't be like one of the like the people with the little pails getting the water, you don't think? You just give up.
You know what? I got to work on like my core strength so I can be one of those Cirque du Soleil performers on like the poles, zipping in and out from the cars in the chase scene. Man, that's I got to work. I got to work on legs and some cardio and some other stuff to be prepared for that mess, because there's no way. Oh man. Yeah, I was gonna say, because if it's not like tumors and stuff that get you, right, it's gonna be like starvation or just getting your ass kicked when you go off the beaten paths.
Yeah, define surviving, like, for the couple of days the movie takes place during, or
I mean, just in general. Do you think like if you were thrust into this world, you'd be able to make it one way or the other?
No.
I don't think so. I would try to be a Furiosa, and then my bad hand-eye coordination would get me killed.
That's true. I'd lose my contacts, and then I'd be like, I'm just blind now, and I gotta learn how to like fight people really well, like Donnie Yen and John Wick 4. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I probably would just end up giving up. Like, like I'd get really discouraged. Like I was like, yeah, like you see this guy over here, like what's all that about? Like, and I just realized that there's no hope, and I'd probably just go out in the desert and die, or just become one of the stilt people, like out in the swamp, like just too weird for anyone to approach, like unsettling, like. But yeah, I think it would be a tough world to live in. The resource scarcity definitely, but just the overwhelming amount of violence and tribalism, like I feel like the best I could hope for is to become somebody's slave, unfortunately. Like I don't have the stuff. I don't have the stuff. Like that's about it. Like I'm not crazy enough to be one of the war boys or whatever they're called. Like,
Nice.
Yeah.
Should we start calling you Splendid? Is that
Splendid?
Be your new
name? Yeah. But I
I
thought
feel
like, hey, go ahead.
No, you're good. What were you gonna say?
Hey, as we do these apocalypse movies, like that should definitely be a featured question, is like, do you think you would survive? Because like there's certain apocalyptic scenarios where I'm like, yeah, I think I could like give it a good go. Like I don't know how successful, because like luck is always involved with some of that. But this one, I feel pretty certain like I would be doomed.
It's like, would you survive the Hunger Games? That classic
question. Yes, there you
go. So we know Furiosa is getting her own prequel like film. Another question I had is like, if you could learn more about like another character or like plot point in this, like either through a prequel or like a TV series, like is there somebody or something that you would love to know more about? Like, because I feel like we get a lot of glimpses and some decent world building for what essentially is a chase movie, but the obvious one for me is Immortan Joe, but I guess he's going to be part of the Furiosa film. So honestly, like curious though if there's like any of the other characters or aspects.
Just knowing what the rest of the world looks like, probably. Not even the whole world, just like what are some other areas looking like? Like I'm sure the area in the film, which is probably like, I don't know how far they drive, but like the space of a few US states, like not too huge.
It's Australia. It takes place in Australia, like
Okay,
the
yeah.
film for it, because that's where he's from. So yeah.
Well, what's happening in New Zealand? Like, I don't know.
It's probably great compared, you know, like
I'd be
just sipping
curious
on
just to
glacier
see
water.
how other like societies handle the apocalypse they're going through.
Yeah, I think that'd be very interesting to have like another look, like, right, like it almost be like how civilizations developed at like rapidly different rates, like in ancient civilizations, and like there's a lot of things that were similar and things that are radically different. So that's actually not a bad idea. I love an anthology series where it was like a different part of the world for each episode, like in the Mad Max universe.
Yeah.
These guys have Grenade Town instead of Bullet Town.
How about you, Will? Any particular aspect or character you'd like to know more about?
I guess presumably we'll learn more about the Green Place then. We'll see what life was like for her beforehand. So that's sort of off the table because that will be there. I like the idea about different areas, like, you know, so if this is in Australia, I mean, I'm assuming we're in the outback, but I could be wrong. That's a pretty generalized American view of what I think of when I think of Australia. So it would be nice to know like what the coast would look like for comparison. Piggybacking off of May's comments. But if there was a character,
Or aspect of the world, like,
yeah,
doesn't have to be a character necessarily.
man, that's hard. I want to know where they get all their cars from. Like, is there just like a scrapyard somewhere where a bunch of stuff's just all thrown together? Because they always have cars, but I never really see where they get the cars from. So, or where they have like spare parts when the cars break down. I'm assuming they have to break down. So, because that's a lot of sand. So I would like to know that. I mean, it's sort of like, I guess if we're looking at this as a metaphor, then it's not really necessary, but from the technical aspect of it, I would like to know. So
The movie logic tells me they get it from Car Town, like, or Auto Town.
Excuse you, it's Carville.
Carville, yes, nice. Where we get our automobiles, yes. Yeah, that would be interesting to see where all the scrap comes from, or if there's like other random pieces of the old world, so like planes or helicopters, or I don't know, just anything else electronic that could be used to like soup up your car. So I think it would be cool.
Yeah, for me, like in the way that they've done some really interesting things with like franchises where they strip it down to like the basics and show you like the common person's like experience. Like I would love to see like a story where it's like not like a hero type like a Furiosa or a Max, but like somebody else that has to like live in this world and just fucking get by and like navigate as just a regular person, like day to day. I think that would be kind of interesting to see, like, and probably heartbreaking too. Like I imagine that would be a pretty big bummer story to tell. But yeah, just watching all those people trying to get their water and just looks like a shitty existence. For sure. Like I wonder what they, I mean, there's almost like religious reverence, right, for Immortan Joe, like because he controls the resources. Like he's almost become like a demigod to all those people for no other reason than that, really, you know.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, that is all I have for like specific topics. So I wanted to kind of open it up and see if there's anything else either of you wanted to talk about with the film, since it is it's wild and the possibilities are literally endless for this movie.
I would love to talk about Nux, partly just because I think it's funny that he is both the comic relief character and the love interest, which is usually not the combo in like the action film.
Solid.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, I'd like to hear more like on your thoughts. I mean, he's kind of the heart, and by that I don't mean like like the center of the film, but like he's where you kind of get a lot of the emotional like moments. It's watching him go from like fervent like, you know, worshiper of Emergent Joe, oh, he looked at me like, oh, to like realizing and having, you know, he's the one that kind of helps you inspire hope that maybe people can change. But yeah, what about Nux?
Yeah, I just think he's an interesting character, and it's kind of like you have all these people that are so ready for death. And yeah, I think that journey is only possible because he was so prepared to die and he was about to die. And when that was taken from him, he was like almost mad about it at first. He was like, you know, you've robbed me of my glorious end, essentially. Um, but then he like makes him appreciate life in a way that he hadn't before, and like other options. And um yeah, that's kind of a beautiful story. And it's just so funny that it's someone like Nux who is just so ridiculous as a person that communicates that. He's the vessel for that moral. But no, I love Nux. He's like, after Furiosa, he's my favorite.
Him dropping the pistol, like, oh, I fucked it big time. And like Merchant Joe going, mediocre. It's one of my favorite moments like ever. Like it's kind of like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, you know.
Yeah.
But it is kind of lovely to see him like experience like actual kindness for the first time.
Yeah.
And acceptance, like beyond just being like an instrument of like, you know, death, and how he reacts and changes to that. Plus his mates, like I forget what their names are, but like his little tumors.
Oh yeah.
Is it
Forgot
Barry and
about
Barry?
those.
It's such a nice little moment. Weird, but like it's nice. Like
They have like little smiley faces on them, right? Isn't it? He's a little too hard on the Kool-Aid for me, man. But I think I like Nux because I like Nicholas Hoult and how he typically delivers a lot of the characters that he plays, and so I think that it's endearing because of that. I think he makes Nux more endearing. And also the fact that he gets his butt kicked so much in this film, and he just keeps on trucking, man. You're like, oh, he's got to be dead. And you're like, nope, he's still good. He almost got his arm blown off by Max to try and get him severed when they were chained together. Nope, you know, like he stays pretty well, you know, intact for most of that film, even though he thinks he's gonna die like at least 2 or 3 times. So yeah, it is sort of like strangely comedic and entertaining, and you grow to like him more because he sort of seems like he's learning. Like he has character development. So I guess maybe I should flip flop. I think that by the end I liked it more than I did to start out with. So I guess that says that it worked. But yeah. Overall, he's a little spastic. So
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the film that I wanted to ask you guys about. But any other thoughts on Nux before I change it over?
No, and if you need time, I have one more topic that sprang to mind. And
Nice.
That's just practical effects. Like I think this is a fantastic example of like practical effects will always be better than CG.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
like,
hands down.
I know it's not as safe, and I know like it's costly sometimes, but so much of what makes this movie work is just that like they shot it in the Australian outback. There's real stunt people doing real crashes and jumping on like pole vaulting poles from like one car to the next, and it sells you so well on what's happening, right? But that's really cool.
And like Charlize Theron and like Tom Hardy were like doing some of those stunts too, right? Like there's one point where she's like literally holding him on that rig. Is that right?
Yeah.
I feel like
I know
right.
I don't know like the specifics, but yes, I know they did a lot of stunt work.
Yeah, so that is pretty awesome. I would agree with you 100%. I'm way into the practical effects than I'll ever be for CGI. Except, you know, with the stuff where you kind of need like a little bit of special effects just to, because clearly you're not going to ride into a tornado or a sandstorm. But, you know,
Right.
Not with that attitude, you're not.
Gear up, man. Let's do it. Yep. That's right. Hey, you know what? If you're in a Christopher Nolan film, everything's real. So, but yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's definitely one of the it's a lost art in a lot of ways because of the fact that people rely on CGI so much. Part of me sort of wonders if, and this is probably a little off topic, but I wonder if that Marvel films would be a little bit more endearing still if they relied more on that and less on like over the like just like way just so much detail that you're just sort of lost in looking at this kaleidoscope of color every time you watch a Marvel movie. But yeah, no, I think I'm always impressed by, and I know I'm kind of like rambling here, but I'm always impressed with practical effects, especially when it is like in a very harsh environment that you have to get all this stuff to work really well, and to be able to do the car chase and the flips and making sure everybody stays safe, like you were talking about, and to just pull it off, to choreograph the whole thing and just to have everything come together. It's I feel like the Matrix, like in the second Matrix movie where they did the highway chase, and it's just like it's incredible what you do when you like really you plan it out and you have a great crew to be able to pull that off. And I think it was like Cirque du Soleil dudes on those pole vaults. So I mean, it was like really, they got really good. They had experts for what they needed, and they pulled it off really well. So yeah, it was awesome.
I think it's interesting that Will initiated the Marvel bashing this time.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's true.
It's not like
I agree as well.
it wouldn't be so bad if it was used sparingly, but I feel like so much of it is just like I might as well be reading a comic book. Like, and I know like some people might see that as a compliment, but I'm like, there's nothing about this that like feels like I'm watching like real people do real stuff. And I feel like that's kind of what you should go for. I don't know.
See, even a comic book can have like a distinct like aesthetic and a distinct style and like communicate a lot with color. And like Will was saying, it just seems like they use like every color possible, bright neon, like all the time, and there isn't much storytelling happening with this CGI, when they could actually, even without going to practical effects, they could use the CGI in a more intentional way, and they don't even do that.
Yeah, I know it's not a perfect movie by any means, but like the Watchmen film, I feel like one of the aspects that they got right from the comic was using the secondary color palette. So like a lot of Golden Age and Silver Age comics were like your primary colors, a lot of yellow, blue, red, and Watchmen's a lot of purples and like greens and like really like weird, like, color combinations. And the film at least gets that look right. I mean, Zack Snyder's never been lacking on style. Sometimes it's just more substance and casting choices, but that'll be a different tangent. So like I do wish Marvel would have like taken more cues from the source material, because some of the artwork's really cool. Like when you look at like some of the stuff that like inspired some of these like films, like the storylines they draw from, and you're like, why didn't you use that? Like that would just in and of itself be an achievement for like the evolution of like what they're trying to do. But yeah, thanks, Will, for pulling us yet into another Marvel.
Yep. I like to pull the trigger on that, man. And every once in a while, I just like to poke the bear. But...
It's all good.
I think it's probably because I just like watched Ant-Man 3, and so it's on my mind, where I was just like, there's so much color everywhere. Anyway.
Yeah. Did you have anything else that you wanted to cover? I know I made you like talk about something tangentially, which probably interrupted your train of thought, but
I think if there's anything we've learned is that my brain is all over the place. So I'm just going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And sometimes what we don't want to talk about. But I guess, so this is like, I feel like the answer to this question is yes before I ask it. But did Splendid actually die in this film? There seemed like there was a chance that maybe she didn't. But then we never see her after that. And I was sort of like, I feel like she didn't make it. Most of the rest of that crew didn't make it. So I'm going to assume that she probably didn't. But I'm just curious if you guys thought that she did or didn't. Because, like, nothing. Like, after that, there's just, like, you don't see her at all.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I think, dead.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think they just, like, were like, we got too many characters getting wounded and dying to spend much more screen time. You're just gonna imply.
Yeah, deleted scene maybe.
Yeah.
Wait, so like that's the childbirth? like the
Yeah.
pregnant one, right? Oh yeah, she's definitely
like, yeah, you think okay? Because like she went under the wheel, but she didn't see like any like I don't know. She went under the car, didn't necessarily go under the wheel, but then they were like she's still breathing, and then they like, but then he like basically just like tore into her to get the baby out. So I'm like,
yeah,
probably dead.
Yeah, Marianne and I were joking about that too. Like, sorry, it's my sixth sense of humor. I'm like I know she's like a Victoria's Secret model and whatever, like, but you would not look that good being run over by a car. Like, that would be gross. And there would not be any question if that baby was dead either. You certainly wouldn't be holding like a pretty immaculate body and be like, maybe the baby survived. No. But yeah, she did. And if she wasn't, she was dead after they pulled the baby out, put it that way.
Yeah, that was not like a gentle C-section. Jesus.
Oh, and now I'm having like really terrible flashbacks to House of the Dragon, like the first episode. Anyway, you know. If you know, you know.
Oh God.
I heard about it, and that's why I decided not to watch House of the Dragon.
You could just fast forward through it. It's fine. You know, you'll know when it's coming. You got plenty of warning. You can just read a recap after that starts. But okay. Well, last call. Any other thoughts on Mad Max before we play a round of keyword countdown?
I would really quickly like to go back to something Will brought up.
Sweet.
Because I hadn't read about this. But he said like Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron were fighting all the time.
Yeah, I encourage you to read some of the articles that like have kind of immortalized this. There's some pretty choice quotes from Charlize directly. I'll let Will summarize because you sounds like you read about it between episodes, and I haven't read about it since long before we recorded this. But I am familiar with the feud.
Yeah, mostly that it was like, for what it sounded like, I guess in a nutshell, and if I'm wrong, please fact check me. But I feel like it was like Charlize was there and was very like professional and on time and ready to do stuff, and Tom is, I guess, notoriously like late and just kind of shows up whenever and was sort of like in character and just gruff and antagonistic. And so at one point she just like snaps at him and starts arguing with him about his behavior, and he kind of pushed back, and then she just didn't feel safe around him, so she had a producer on set with her for most of the time after that. And then when things sort of came toward the end of the storyline and their characters are supposed to sort of get along, that suddenly they seem to get along as people on set, to the point where I think somebody was quoted as being like, are they like high right now or like on something? Like, why are they okay with each other?
It's acting, baby.
I know. Yeah. So
is Tom Hardy a method actor?
Yeah, that's what at least that's what I was reading about, is that is his style.
So he was method acting friendship towards the end.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I think it was a combination of like his diva behavior mostly, and then like trying to not, like a lot of method actors, read the room and be like, hey, turn it off for a second and have a real conversation and pick up on the cues like that you're getting from your coworkers, basically.
I'll save my rant on method acting for now.
Sweet. I'll make a note about that.
Yeah. That might be a great like opener topic to talk about what it is, like where it started, and then like at its core what it's supposed to be. Because like Daniel Day-Lewis is, like a famous one who has some interesting stories, but like I don't think anything that comes to mind where he like ever got out of hand. I think the closest thing that I read about, and I don't even know if it's true, is that like at one point like he was chasing Paul Dano around the crafts table at like the There Will Be Blood, like, and just like trying to get him like on edge before they were shooting a particular scene. Like when I say chasing around, like kind of like ranting at him and yelling at him, like
oh
wow. But I don't know if that's true or not, so like please don't sue us, Daniel Day-Lewis, for slander. This is something that I read, so I'm not putting it forth as true, but yeah.
Screen Quest gets hit with a libel suit.
Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
It's only libel if it's in print. So I think we're good there, as long as I don't put it in the description.
It's just slander.
Nice.
It's just slander, yeah.
Nice. No subtitles. Don't do it.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man taught me that, baby. J. Jonah Jameson. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid.
Sweet. Well, hey, thanks for buckling up for the literal ride of Fury Road.
Meet.
Encourage you if they like. I noticed like none of them were on streaming services, which was I was like, oh man. But if you're interested, like I said, they range from like good to great for the prior entries and the films. If you can stomach Mel Gibson, I know a lot of people don't love him, which is understandable. But second one in particular is very good. So all right, let me pull up my notes here and let's play some keyword countdown, shall we?
Do it.
All right.
Witness me.
All shiny and chrome.
Yes. For a quick reminder for our listeners, Keyword Countdown is a game that was created by Gavin Murphy, or Gav, from RKG Video, which makes some of the best videos on the internet. And I think most recently they just finished a full playthrough of the Dead Space remake. So if you like having lots of laughs and watching three best friends play a video game, highly recommend their stuff. Thank you, Gav, for letting us play Keyword Countdown on occasion. So this is going to be Keyword Countdown Apocalypse Edition. So I'm giving you a little clue here to help you narrow down some of the categories. I will be honest, a couple of these might be a little on the harder side, depending on your movie knowledge. I try not to go like super obscure. Like, for example, I was going to do A Boy and His Dog, and I was like, I'm pretty sure neither of them have seen that movie. And maybe not even heard of it. So I did go like with at least movies that I know you've heard of and likely have enough pop culture knowledge that you should be able to get it by the end. That being said, who's ready for your first film?
Let's do it.
Okay. Film number 1. And I almost said the title. Damn, because like I have it at the top. I need to stop doing that. All right. Clue number 1. Low budget film. Low budget film.
Waterworld.
Was that low budget?
That is not.
No, it's just bad.
You know what? Waterworld is basically the ocean version of Mad Max. So
I had a high school friend who was so convinced that Waterworld was gonna like rise like the cream to the top, like at 20 years down the road, become a classic, and that has not come true. Some people like it, but anyway.
I was gonna say I actually like Waterworld.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's a crazy ass movie. Don't get me wrong. You're completely right. But I like it. So.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I can't really talk shit one way or the other. All right, clue number 2: Ghetto. All right, clue number 3: Murder of a Child. Murder of a Child.
I haven't seen it, but the original Mad Max.
Not a bad guess, but it's not the one.
True.
His wife and child do die in that, but that's not. It's not much of a spoiler because that's what kicks things off. But yeah. All right. Clue number 4: Police officer killed. Police officer killed. All right. Clue number 5: Motorcycle.
Oh, I feel like this has got to be.
Do you know, Will?
No, I like in my mind. I feel like that should be like something that should like bring it all together. I don't know. I'm just on a vehicle kick right now. I'm just gonna throw some random stuff out there. Judge Dredd.
Nope. It's not Judge Dredd.
Wish. God, I wish it was.
All right. And this is where we start answering, like, I'm going to peel back, like, it'll get a little more obvious with each one. So fear not. Clue number 6: Consumerism. Consumerism.
Wally.
Really not a bad guess at all, except for the murder of the child and police
I was
officer.
going to say, Pixar would not go that bad, like that dark. They'll kill somebody's wife, but they're not going to kill a kid.
I mean, Wally is kind of kid coded, and they do briefly kill him. Okay,
That's true. That's true. That's true. This is not the one.
Wally like suffered like the version of like, I don't know, like a lobotomy or like Alzheimer's or something. Like, oh man.
Lobotomy, I think, would be the closest. Yeah.
All right, your next clue is another method of transport, and that is a helicopter. Helicopter is your next clue.
It's the low budget thing that's killing me, though.
I know. The day the Earth stood still.
Terminator.
No and no.
The Terminator.
No.
Like throw in the article so we know which one I'm talking about.
No. Sequel is your next clue. Sequel.
Terminator 2.
Judgment Day.
No.
Yeah. Budget sequel. Motorcycle.
So I'll recap quickly. Low budget film, ghetto, murder of a child, police officer killed, motorcycle, consumerism, helicopter, sequel. If Isaac is out there listening, he knows, I'm sure by now, he's probably screaming it at the top of his lungs. That's a little bit of a clue there, because your next clue is zombie virus. So that'll clue you into the genre. Zombie virus is your next clue. That's
World
the
War Z?
penultimate. It's not World War Z.
All right, that was not low budget.
28 Days Later.
Mhm.
No, there's no motorcycle was then. Sorry.
I Am Legend wasn't low budget. No.
That was a dog, not a kid.
It's the kid of the dog world, okay?
That's true. I'm not downplaying it. That was a sad moment in that movie. That was like, man, yeah.
You ready for the gimme?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need it.
Shopping mall. Shopping mall is your gimme. I'm about to be ashamed of both of you. And I know
Dawn of
one
the
movie
Dead.
that we're definitely. Yeah, it is Dawn of the Dead. Nice job.
Man.
The 1978 version to specify, one of the great like social commentary horror films of our time, believe it or not, for a movie that has such a silly title and is like really over the top and gore. Famously depicted issues of racial violence, specifically against like minorities by police officers. Is a really amazing like scene in the opening when things are going to shit. And then, of course, like famously takes place for most of it in a shopping mall, little microcosm, shot in Pennsylvania. So nice job, Will. That's 1 point for Will.
Noise
Well
on
done.
the board.
Well,
All right. You guys are going to do significantly better on this next one. I have no doubt. I did have some films that I was like, I know they've seen this peppered in there. I just wanted to make it a little competitive. That's all. So new film, first clue, raccoon. Remember, they're supposed to be obscure, Mr. Laffy McLafferson over there.
I'm sorry. I immediately thought of two things. I thought of everywhere or everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
I thought of Raccacoonie and I thought of I'm sorry, I can't get that out of my mind now. And
wait
of
a
course,
second. Everything Everywhere All at Once is kind of an apocalypse movie.
Kind of.
It
Not
is.
post-apocalypse though, which I
No.
should have quantified that. This is post-apocalyptic, really, like
Okay.
edition. But
All right, Raccacoonie, let's do it. Raccoon.
all right, next clue. Oh, go aheed. You want to guess, May? She's looking for 10. Go ahead.
It's a ridiculous one, but
Do
Cocaine
it.
Bear.
It's not Cocaine
There
Bear.
must have been a raccoon in that, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen it, but I wouldn't doubt it.
I haven't yet either.
All right, second clue, regret.
Was it the raccoon that regrets?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably not specifically raccoon regret. But alrighty. Next clue, earphones.
Sorry, I'm just trying to think. A Quiet Place.
It is. It's a quiet place.
Great
That
job.
is 8
Yay,
points
thank
for
you.
Mr. Rotondi. So remaining clues were 3-word title, radio transmitter, stepping on a nail, sitting on top of a silo, hand on a pregnant stomach, which believe it or not is a clue in IMDb plot words, deaf child, and then again, believe it or not, trying to avoid making noise is a plot keyword that you can click on and see other movies that share that plot keyword. So, all right.
know.
That's okay. It's 2 films down, 9 points for Will. May, you are still very much in this.
It's okay. This is not my category whatsoever. So I'm not expecting to be very competitive here.
Well, fair enough. I think I believe though you can totally still do it. And here we go. Quite the first clue for your next film. Rare, not rare. Very different word. Rear male nudity. Rare
male nudity.
Rare male nudity.
It is rare.
Yeah.
Only heard of in myth.
They're catching up these days, you know. There's more dong being hung than
That's like just solely thanks to HBO though.
Yeah, true. But yeah, rear male nudity. So some good old dude butts.
The Hunger Games?
Nope, not a bad guess though.
I felt like that happened in one of them. What? I was a teen.
I mean, I am not shaming whatsoever.
No, yeah.
I remember these things.
You always remember your first male butt.
Yeah, I feel like that was probably Marty McFly in Back to the Future. The third one. Oh man. Sorry, digressed. Please continue,
okay.
Chris, with you.
Here's your next clue. Brain surgery.
Oh shit. Butts and brains. What we got?
Cornerstone of any great apocalyptic movie.
Really?
Okay. Next clue. Cornfield.
Troll 2.
Not the one. All right. Next clue. First of a series.
Total Shot in the Dark, because again, I haven't seen it. Independence Day.
Not it.
The corn? Do the UFOs land in corn in that one?
Decidedly not in corn,
No.
but some of the other stuff
Okay.
might work. There might be some dude butts. Definitely some surgery in the first one.
Yeah.
Next
Elysium?
clue, which could also it's not Elysium. Nope. This would have fit Independence Day, but desert is your next clue.
Mad Max.
Yeah.
It's not Mad Max.
Thunderdome.
Gonna be a genre clue here. Outer space adventure.
Oh.
Star Trek.
It's not Star Trek.
So this is apocalyptic, right? So
which in and of itself, like, you can kind of use
like,
to work this out.
Star Wars Episode 3.
No.
Dune?
It's not Dune.
I was gonna be so mad if it was that one.
Yeah.
All right, next clue. Mute character. Alrighty. Next clue. Horseback riding.
Can I get a clue recap?
Yes.
Yeah.
So rear male nudity, not to be confused with rare male nudity, brain surgery, cornfield, first of a series, desert, outer space adventure, mute character, and horseback riding.
Interstellar.
It's not the one.
We'll get you to watch it one day, Chris. I promise.
Yeah, Marianne actually floated it as an idea of something soon.
There's a Sean Connery movie. I don't think this is it, but I feel in a weird way like this would fit that. And there's is it Zardoz or
he's got the red banana hammock that he's wearing. Yeah.
What is
it's not the one.
What is the name of that movie though? Yeah.
It is Zardoz. Yeah, you're right.
It is Zardoz? Okay. Yeah.
That's not the one. All right. Next clue, penultimate and a big one. Twist ending.
The Wizard of Oz.
If only.
It's not the one. All right. You don't want to think about twist endings post-apocalypse. Okay. Here comes the gimme. Hands on your buzzers. Statue of Liberty.
Planet of the Apes.
It's Planet of the Apes.
Nice. So we saw some Charlton Heston booty. Is that that's what was going on?
I think all the male astronauts, we see some booty.
Okay. Man, it's been forever since I've seen that film.
Never.
I caught it on the cruise when we it was like late and we were way too like sun tired from like activities, kayaking and whatnot. And yeah, man, that movie holds up. It's a really good one. The sequels are not really worth the shit, but that original one is quite incredible.
What'd you think of the remake, the Tim Burton one?
The Tim Burton one can suck it. But
Wow.
I love the Andy Serkis ones. Like those are all great. They only get better too from like the Rise is like pretty good, and then like Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes are just phenomenal movies.
Nice.
All right, so that's 1 point for Will. Next film.
Man, that was rough.
I know. I was like, if you haven't seen that in a while, that was one of the obscure ones. I think these next two fall more into the gettable categories for sure. All right. First clue for next film, based on a novel.
Dude.
It's not.
The Hunger Games.
It's not.
Divergent.
Those are more dystopian, not post-apocalyptic. Get your genre right. Go on.
Well, it's not. Sorry. I was going to say something, but it's a TV show, not a movie, so it doesn't count. So I apologize.
Clue number 2, atheist.
Interstellar.
And Will, I just want you to know where I have like my window for my notes.
Yeah.
It's currently over your face and it looks like you're peering like over my notes. Like it's great. I by accident did that, so it's really tickling me silently. I'm giggling inside, but
oh man.
All right, next clue, loss of a family.
Demon Slayer.
That's not the one.
What was the last clue again? No, I'm sorry.
Loss of a family, and then prior to that was atheist.
Okay.
Prior to that was based on a novel.
Okay. Yeah, I still got nothing.
Okay. Next clue, an antiquated thing called a video store.
What? Blockbuster.
Hey, next clue, golf. A sport, not like the of Mexico, but
Does Zombieland fit in this? Was Zombieland a book?
I actually don't know, but it's not Zombieland.
World War Z.
It's not. Next clue is helicopter accident. Alrighty. I feel like someone's getting in on this one. Your next clue. Reference to Bob Marley. I'm shocked right now.
I think this is going to be painful when we both realize what this film is.
I agree.
It would be like, wow. I feel like the
I'll
easiest
explain.
thing for me were like, yeah, but okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'll explain. All right. Next clue, plague.
Contagion.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Definitely get your hands on the buzzers for the penultimate clue, which is death of a dog.
Oh, so I Am Legend?
Yeah, May got it first.
Nice. Good catch there, buddy.
2 points.
By like a half second.
Yeah. You can
so the final clue was vampires. And
nice.
It was based on a novel by Richard Matheson, who also wrote a lot of episodes for the Twilight Zone. the reference to Bob Marley is during the very sad previously mentioned dog death scene where he's singing Three Little Birds, everything's gonna be all right, and his dog's dying. Like, so when you guys said that, I was like, oh man, like it's gonna be really hard not to give away the farm. Like,
Yeah.
But good job. All right, May on the board.
Woo. I have
Yeah.
2 points.
I believe so. Will has 10 points total going into this, and May has 2. So you could technically still win
You beat me.
this.
Yeah, you can still beat me.
Or tie it.
We're done.
So
I'm
final
just gonna
film.
list off every movie I know then.
Interstellar.
I want to see like a miraculous comeback here. So
Hey,
A game.
It's happened. So yeah, I'm not sitting cushy over here. We still no fight.
Final film. First clue. Gas mask.
12 Monkeys.
Almost put that one on there because that's like one of my favorites, but I resisted. No,
Nice.
Mad God.
it's not. That would have been awesome. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Outbreak.
Not an outbreak.
Hmm.
Is The Dark Knight technically
Not
an apocalypse film?
No.
Depends on who you ask. People of Gotham might have felt that way when
Yeah, no shit. That place is always getting boned. All right. Second clue, crutches.
Crutches and a gas man.
Dune, World War Z.
Right.
Interstellar.
Dune the original, Dune the remake.
Children of Dune. So to tie it, and then we can do a tiebreaker. So no pressure. Your next clue, chained to a pipe. Chained to a pipe.
I don't think I've seen this. I feel like I'd remember that scene if I had seen this.
Okay. Fair enough. Your next clue is magazine. Yeah, this is one I wasn't sure about. Again, you'll get it by the end.
The Terminator.
Next clue, air vent.
Wally.
All
I'm
right.
just gonna say it's not gonna be, but I'm just gonna say Die Hard because I feel like Die Hard fits some of these.
It does, but it's not.
Yeah.
Your next clue is psychological manipulation. All right. This almost sounds like it could be like one of our previous entries, but your next clue is farmhouse.
Signs.
It's not a bad guess, but it's not the one.
Elysium. I'm sorry, I think May probably said that already.
Yeah. All right. Hidden truth. Hidden truth.
Dun, dun, dun.
Clue number 8, hidden truth. I'll do a recap here. Gas mask, crutches, chained to a pipe, magazine, air vent, psychological manipulation, farmhouse, hidden truth. Penultimate clue, fallout shelter. Oh, if you've not seen this movie, it's a banger. I'm due for like a rewatch. Alrighty. And the gimme, alien invasion.
Cloverfield. No. Sorry. 10
day-
Cloverfield Lane.
The
And
day the
Cloverfield
earth
Lane.
stood still. Oh, it is? Okay.
Will got it 10 Cloverfield Lane. So
Nice.
different film than Cloverfield. It was a spiritual, we didn't know what the hell it was until it came out film. Yeah, it is indeed that was a toughie. I feel like, have you seen it before, Will, or did you just get it from the context clues?
No, I have seen it before, and I agree with you. I actually liked it more than I thought I would. So I was very pleasantly surprised for a film that sort of how it was marketed. The execution was actually better than I expected. So yeah,
I think you could argue that, like, even though I love sort of like giant monster stuff, like I think it's a better movie than the original Cloverfield in terms of like suspense factor and like small scale and all that. But if you're not familiar, it stars John Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and it is about a woman who has a car crash in the midst of some shit going down, and John Goodman like saves her and has her in a fallout shelter. It's like, you cannot leave this, like it's not safe to go outside, and like you the whole time you're guessing like, is there actually something like bad out there? Is there an alien invasion? Like, is there something else that's like happened? And like they don't answer the question until like the very end of the movie. So it's just really, really great. Like even as a suspense thriller. Yeah, it's very good.
Well, I love both of those actors, so I'll have to check it out.
Please do, and report back if you do. But well done, both of you. That was a little bit harder, so sorry for the hard mode. But
Will earned every single one of those points. I was very impressed. Like he worked for it.
Well, yeah, Will is definitely the victor, but May, I always like when there's not a clean sweep. Like it's important, definitely to get on the board for sure. Got to keep the audience in suspense. And as Gav would say, it's never a bad idea that it goes to the end, because it just gives like people more time to guess, like in the audience, right? Like they get more time to work it out. So exactly. Well done, both of you.
Thank you.
GG's.
Well played, May.
Thank you.
And now we've reached that time of the show where we get to find out what we're watching next.
Everything.
Everywhere.
With Rakakuni.
So a little bit of a special category, this one, because we've changed the way that we're going to handle this moving forward. So I'll explain. It is was the book better? So I'm going to find out which one this is, and I'll explain to our audience how this is going to work. So hold, please, while I determine which of the books that we'll be reading for this.
Dust off that library card.
Oh, this is a May pick, and it's going to make my wife very happy. So it's going to be Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Nice.
Which is timely because I just finished Succession and I need some Matthew Macfadyen in my life.
Yes.
So that's the version we'll be watching, correct? The Keira Knightley, Matthew Macfadyen.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So we decided off camera, the way that we're going to handle this particular category, was that we are going to give you, the audience, a month head start. So this will be the episode that we record basically a month from now, and we'll throw that probably in the episode description so you can find out, because we'll have to talk off camera and decide when that'll be. But you'll have some time to read the book if you'd like to. Sorry to give you additional homework. If you're watching, you can simply watch the film and hear our opinions if you want, but it gives us time to read the book as well, and then come back and discuss. So we're not all having to cram in from 1 week to the next reading a book and watching a film, which is quite a momentous task.
Especially Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
I will say audiobooks are valid.
Of course, yeah.
And frankly, kind of recommended with this one, because I enjoy reading it slowly and cherishing every artfully crafted sentence, of course, but it is kind of stream of consciousness, stream of thought in a way, so it can be nice just listening to it.
Awesome. So I look forward to that, both reading the book and seeing the film, because I have neither read the book nor seen any version of the movie. So this should be exciting. I know it's very well regarded. So now we're gonna do historical first, which is draw another card. Please don't be another was the book better, because that would be funny as fuck.
Dude,
you will read.
Hey, all right. So this is a new category called shipwreck. So to refresh your memory, listeners, shipwreck is where we talk about an oddly strained or shoehorned romance, I should say, in a film. So kind of an out of place shoehorned romance. Oh man. All right, I'm gonna set that this is my last pick for a while. It is a Chris pick. I promise I'm not cheating. The proof is in the pudding. The film that we're going to be watching is Lethal Weapon 2.
Hell yes. I love it.
I have thoughts that I'll save for the episode, but I think you'll understand when we get to it.
Yeah, this will be my first watch, so no spoilers.
No spoilers. I would say for listeners and anyone else like on the pod who's not seen the Lethal Weapon films, Lethal Weapon 1 is not compulsory, like necessarily, like you can watch these like on their own, but I would strongly recommend at least watching a recap of the first one, if not just like because the first film is genuinely a great movie and an odd kind of Christmas action movie as well. It gives a lot of very important context and some things that happen into specifically around the shoehorn romance that make it that much more awkward and stupid in my opinion, but that's all I'll say. So that's our film that we're watching next week, and of course in a month we'll be watching Pride and Prejudice and discussing was the book better or not, and we of course won't draw a card before that week, and we'll remind you that that's going to be the film coming up, so you can do a quick bit of catch up if you like.
Ooh.
That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Genuinely appreciate it each and every week that you guys support the show. You can follow us on Twitter at ScreenQuestPod. Please share the show, like that really does help us grow. If you'd like to submit a film, I'll continue to include the link for that. And maybe as soon as like end of June, we'll start throwing some suggestions into the pile. I'm going to keep them a secret, I think, just for suspense sake, but I will let you know that they're in there, so you who has submitted a suggestion knows that it's now in the pile and a possibility. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mediocre.